Sometimes you outgrow people, my fiance wrote 2 days after I lost work. I commented, truth, boxed her stuff, then got hired at double pay. I walked into our industry gala with my CEO girlfriend. Sup, Reddit. 2 days after I got laid off, my fiance posted a cute little caption under a staged coffee shop photo and then dumped me over the phone. Fast forward a couple months, and I showed up to a black tie industry gala with my new boss as my date. Here's how it went down. This is going to be a long ride. I'm Nate, 33. I wire buildings for a living. Not my cousin installed a ceiling fan once wiring. Actual commercial and residential electrical work. Started pulling Romex at 20 for a cranky master who yelled in all caps and carried a tape measure like it was holy. Worked my way through apprenticeship, took every overnight job nobody wanted, and stacked certs. 5 years in, I had my journeyman. 10 years in, I had my master license, a state inspector on my phone, and a reputation for not cutting corners. I own a small shop, North Rim Electric LLC. Nothing flashy. I've got a 2-bay unit in an industrial strip, a 16-foot enclosed trailer, a used Chevy Silverado 2500 with ladder racks, and 2 scissor lifts I financed when copper prices made me question my life choices. I track everything in a spreadsheet, receipts, materials, labor, permit fees. Last year, gross revenue was $228,400, net after everything around $96,300, and I paid myself $68,000. Not NBA money, but my bills are paid, and my stuff is mine. Speaking of mine, I own a 3-bedroom ranch on the east side I picked up for $246,000. 3 years back, 20% down because I don't enjoy making banks rich. Payment with escrow is $1,560. I have a 1-car detached garage where I store the "don't touch that or it bites you" spools. My shop lease is $1,100. I keep a 6-month emergency fund. Learned that from my Uncle Ron, who got torn in half by a messy divorce where he gave up a boat, the cabin, and what felt like his spine. He's fine now, but he repeats, protect your stuff like it's scripture. So yeah, I keep finances separate. I had already told my then fiancée, Sierra, that if we ever married, we were getting a prenup. I said it kindly, with a spreadsheet, which is how you know I meant it. Sierra? We met 3 years ago at a friend's backyard cookout. She was 29 then, 32 now. Dark hair, gym person but not obnoxious about it, nice laugh. She worked as an HR coordinator at a mid-sized medical billing company. Her salary was $52,000 last I asked. When we met, everything felt normal. She liked that I could fix things. I liked that she had her life together and wasn't trying to live on Instagram. Or so I thought. We dated 2.5 years. I'm not exaggerating when I say I showed up. When you run a shop, free time is a myth with a mustache. But I made it happen. Sunday dog walks with my brown mutt, Ranger, who thinks geese are federal agents. Tuesday dinners. Saturdays we do errands and I'd carry her IKEA boxes, even though those flat pack instructions are enemy propaganda. We took small road trips to nearby state parks. I surprised her with a weekend at a little A-frame Airbnb one fall. Chill, no drinks involved, just hot chocolate. We split checks most of the time because I'm not anyone's ATM, and she said she respected that. Cool. Then we got engaged. Small ring, my grandma's stone. Reset simple. $800 in custom work, and she cried. Said yes, and I ugly smiled like a clown. We didn't move in together because I don't play, let's merge lives first, figure out money later. We agreed to keep separate places until right before the wedding. She had a 1-bedroom apartment across town. I made her a copy of my house key anyway for practical reasons, and she made me a copy of hers. This detail is going to matter. 2 months after the engagement, things started changing. Not night and day, more like the thermostat getting bumped 2 degrees warmer. She wanted a bigger wedding. She wanted upgraded flowers. She wanted a brand-name photographer with moody tones. The budget ballooned from the $12,000 we discussed to something closer to $34,000 with the way she was talking. I kept saying no. She started calling me old school in a not fun way. Another detail that's going to matter later. Okay, pause for the backstory section because Reddit always asks for context. Me and Sierra met through Drew, my best friend since trade school. Drew is built like a fridge and talks like a guy who learned empathy from a YouTube tutorial, but his heart is loyal. He's the one who shows up when your breaker is fried, your truck stalls, or your brain goes quiet in a bad way. The early part with Sierra? It was normal good. She came to a job site once and watched me do a service upgrade. She held the flashlight wrong but pretended I didn't notice. We went to weekend markets. We planned the wedding small at first. courthouse and a family lunch, or a minimal venue with a taco bar and a budget we could pay in cash. We stayed in separate places because I said I wanted financial boundaries until vows. She agreed. Emphasis on then, where it shifted. When I got busy. November through March this past year, I ran 60 to 70-hour weeks because Granite Works had 3 builds going at once, and every one of them needed me to be in 2 places at once. I kept telling Sierra the calendar would calm down, but you know how it goes. The calendar doesn't calm down, you do. You just stop expecting sleep to be your friend. She started saying things like, "You're married to your job," and "When we move in, I'll need more balance." Fair. She's allowed to want time. But then the subtle stuff. If I suggested pizza night at home, she'd send me links for new restaurants with $18 salads and vibes. She'd say, "When we're married, I don't want to think about bills," which is a sentence that makes my spine leave my body. She asked for the photographer upgrade twice after I already said no. She mentioned at least 3 times that her coworker's boyfriend bought her a luxury bag just because, like I was supposed to salute. I told myself it was normal relationship friction. I ignored that I was explaining compound interest to someone who didn't want to learn math. Yeah, I know, I was an idiot. Sierra had this friend Kaylee. My term for her is the enabler. Kaylee would look at me and smile with her teeth and then say things like, "Nate, you're so practical." The way someone would say, "Nate, you're so damp." She hyped Sierra's bigger ideas. She liked things a certain way, which meant other people pay. I tried to be polite. I also kept Kaylee 3 states away from my money. On my side, Uncle Ron told me loudly, "Prenup," like he was calling a timeout in a playoff game. We proposed the prenup after the engagement. Sierra said, "I trust you," which was sweet and also not an answer. When I said it wasn't about trust, it was about clarity. She said okay, but her face did that polite shutdown thing. We scheduled a meeting with Kara anyway. Then Granite Works hit pause, then the coffee shop caption, then the dump call, and here we are. Everything really shifted the week my main GC paused all subcontracted work. North Rim Electric is my company, but about half my revenue comes as a sub for Granite Works on their new builds. When they lost 2 contracts, my calendar emptied. On Thursday morning, they said all sub work was paused for 6 to 8 weeks, while the developer sorted funding. Functionally a layoff when you're a sub. That was 90% of my scheduled labor for the month. If you've been in trades long enough, you know the drill. You take a breath, you call your crew, you shuffle, and you go chase other jobs. It wasn't my first slowdown, and it won't be the last. I spent that Thursday and Friday doing responsible adult things, reworking the budget, calling past clients, updating my service ads, and pushing out a no service fee this month promo for panel upgrades. I had 6 months of business expenses and personal expenses saved up. Plug-and-play stability. I was stressed, not sunk. Sierra came over that Friday night. I made chicken and roasted potatoes, and we watched a dumb competition show where adults cry about cake. She pushed the food around, barely ate. Then she asked, "How long till you find something?" "No, just you." I said, "Could be a few weeks, could be a couple months. I've got 6 months of runway." She made a face like I said I was going to start selling my organs on Craigslist. I explained how contractor calendars work, how cash flow cycles hit, how I load balance jobs between general contractors, how I track POS and payments so I don't float materials for people who pay slow. She nodded like I was speaking in hieroglyphics. She said she had a headache and left early. Ranger watched her go and made that donkey snort dogs do. Should have listened to him. Saturday morning, I'm scrolling on my phone while Ranger harasses my sock, and I see Sierra's post. Photo of her staring out a coffee shop window with the classic thinking face, hand under chin. Caption, "Sometimes you outgrow people. Choose yourself. Growth moving forward, know your worth." It had 30 likes. 2 from her friends I'd seen twice. One from a guy named Brandon who posted gym mirror selfies and motivational quotes that were mostly words attached to an abs photo. I commented one word, truth. Then I blocked her. Not kidding. The second I hit post, I knew I didn't want to have a debate under her motivational poster. If you're hoping your partner will read your subtweet and catch your meaning, you're not a partner. You're a content creator. 10 minutes later, she texted, "We need to talk." I called. She said she had been reevaluating. The last 2 days, me getting laid off, she used air quotes on the phone somehow, made her realize we were not aligned. She said she was moving up at her firm and needed someone on her level. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I said, "So you're dumping me because my main contractor paused jobs for a few weeks?" She said, "No, I'm ending things because this made me see that you don't have a drive." Me, the guy who has a shop lease, 2 scissor lifts, 6 a.m. starts, and a spreadsheet that sleeps under my pillow. I ended the call with, "Copy that. I'll have your key boxed up. You can pick up your things Sunday afternoon." After I hung up, I stared at the wall for a solid minute. Then I got to work. I walked around my house and collected everything Sierra had in the bathroom drawers. The guest closet, my nightstand, hair dryer, flat iron, a drawer full of skincare bottles that could have bought Ranger a gold collar. I packed it all into a clear bin and labeled it Sierra. I label everything. I'm that guy. Then I did the list I do when people leave your life. Change smart lock code. I keep physical deadbolts and a keypad. A layered system. Remove access to my home Wi-Fi. Don't laugh, it matters. Revoke access to my streaming accounts and my shop's shared QuickBooks/vendor logins. I'd once let her pull a receipt, my mistake. I rotated every credential, turned on 2-factor authentication, and pulled an access audit. Call my insurance agent and double-check beneficiaries. My mom, not her. Email my lawyer, Kara, and ask for prenup draft to be paused and file closed. Box her stuff. Send a short text with pickup window text I sent. "Hi, your things are boxed. Sunday 3 to 5 p.m. I'll be here. After that, I'll donate. Please don't come early or late. Thanks." I sat on the porch steps with Ranger and watched a gray sky that looked like drywall primer. I felt tired more than sad. Guys talk a big game about never saw it coming. I won't lie. I saw some of it coming. I just ignored it because I wanted the person I was building to fit the blueprint in my head. Sunday, 3:02 p.m. Sierra stepped out of her car in a coat that pretended to be a hug and stared at my porch like it had keyed her paint. Drew leaned on my truck, arms crossed, expression that read, "I would eat a filing cabinet if required." She stopped at the bottom step. "I didn't expect you to—" She gestured at the box by the door. "You said you were out," I said. I respected that. Behind me, Drew coughed. Could have been a laugh. Could have been tectonic activity. Sierra exhaled, geared up. "We can still be friends." I just needed time to figure myself out. "You're such a good—" "You made your choice," I said, clean and flat. Actions had consequences. I protected what was mine. Her face flickered. Confusion, then annoyance. "You're overreacting." "No," I said. I reacted once. She planted a hand on her hip like we stood in a courtroom she invented. "You didn't have to make this ugly." I made it clear. She took a step up. I didn't move, but I filled the space. She stopped. The box sat between us like a verdict. "What happened to you?" she asked, voice soft, dangerous. "You used to be kind." "I still was," I said. "I was just done being convenient." Across the glass, Drew raised his eyebrows. "You good?" I nodded. Sierra looked past me into the house, like she tried to inventory what stayed. "This is childish." "What was childish was thinking you could slam a door and keep the key," I said. "Today we returned the key." She huffed, tried another angle. "We're adults. We could talk." "We did," I said. This was me talking. This was also me finishing. I picked up the box and held it out. She held my eyes a beat longer than necessary, like she was searching for the old script inside me. It wasn't there. She took the box. It was heavier than she expected. Her arms dipped. "You'll regret this," she said, quiet. "I don't do regret," I said. She turned. The porch light, off in the daytime now that the photosensor actually worked, left the doorway in shadow while the sun threw a hard line across the step as she walked down. From the window, Drew mouthed, "Cold." "Calculated," I said, and closed the door. The latch clicked like a period. Monday morning, I went into hustle mode. I emailed a list of 30 past customers and offered a discount on panel upgrades. I posted an ad for EV installs with a simple graphic and easy pricing. While that spun up, I got a message from a design-build startup I'd met once at a trade show booth for smart home integrations. Summit Design and Build. CEO Jenna Hart, 34. Sharp suit, sharper questions, the kind of person who reads specs like a bedtime story. Their recruiter had my resume from when we collaborated on a project video last year. They just landed funding, were expanding fast, and needed a senior project lead who could actually manage crews and also talk tech with clients without making them feel dumb. I went in for an interview. I expected a panel of HR bots. Instead, it was Jenna across a table with project plans and a laptop. We talked 2 hours. She wasn't impressed by fluff, she liked receipts. I had them. Pictures of neat panel boards, clean pipe runs, a spreadsheet of average hours per fixture type that I built because I'm emotionally married to Excel. At the end, she said, "I need someone who solves problems without drama. You look like a no-drama guy." I said, "I like when lights work and inspectors nod once." Offer came the next day. $140,000 base, truck allowance $600 per month, company phone, and a 10% bonus based on project margins. My shop could keep running with Drew handling service calls and me doing summit projects during normal hours. If a project fit Northrim's scope, procurement could include us in the normal bid list. Legal had me file a conflict of interest disclosure, and I'm walled off from vendor selection, pricing, and approvals on any job where Northrim bids or works. Another PM owns that scope, and I recuse in writing. It was a unicorn setup. I read the offer, called Kara to run eyes over it, and signed. Day one at Summit, I walked in and felt my shoulders drop 2 inches. Clean shop. Labeled everything. The warehouse guy, Mac, hadn't lost a barcode since 2012. The project managers were chill, not I carry stress like a backpack guys. Jenna ran meetings like a math problem with a personality. She listened, even when you told her a schedule was nonsense. She did something rare. Ask the people who actually install things what they think before promising it to a client. That's how you keep crews. We clicked professionally fast. I didn't flirt. She didn't either. We grabbed coffee between meetings because she wanted to pick my brain about how field guys think. I told her if you want buy-in, you show up with donuts, but not the jelly ones. Those start HR incidents. And you say, "What's going to break first?" She laughed. Her laugh wasn't performative. It sounded like someone who didn't get surprised often, but enjoyed it when she was. 6 weeks in, we stayed late finishing a schedule. At 8:45 p.m., she said, "You eaten?" I said, "I will eat the drywall if not." She said there's a Thai place still open, and we should grab something. We talked not about work for the first time. Her divorce 2 years ago. My ex-fiancée with the inspirational captions. We swapped stories, shook our heads, and let silence sit without making it awkward. On the walk to our cars, she said, "This was nice. Maybe again when we're not surrounded by conduit." I said, "Deal." From there, we did careful. No PDA at work. No weirdness in meetings. 2 adults who kept boundaries. People gossip no matter what, but if your work is clean and your timelines beat estimates, gossip gets bored. 2 months in, Summit announced a holiday gala. Black tie. Clients and investors. Fancy venue downtown with an air that smelled like new carpet and anxiety. Jenna asked at dinner the week before, "Will you be my date?" I didn't make it a thing. I said, "People will talk." She said, "People always talk. And we have HR and documented timelines. We're adults." She looked me in the eyes, not around me, so I said yes. It felt right to say yes to someone who respected the work and the person doing it. 2 days before the gala, my phone pinged. LinkedIn DM from Sierra. "Hey, hope you're doing okay. Been thinking about you." I ignored it. Next day, another. "I heard you found a new job. That's great. Maybe we could grab coffee and catch up." The answer to coffee and catch up with someone who turned you into a caption is no. I ignored it again. Gala day. I'm in a navy suit that makes me look like I know where the breaker panel is in a courthouse. Jenna texted, "Pick you up at 7?" I said, "I'll meet you there. Parking is easier for me." She sent me a thumbs up and a picture of her shoes asking, "Steel toe enough?" It was silly and I liked that. The venue was one of those ballrooms where the lights are pretending to be stars. There was a string quartet. There were trays of tiny appetizers that tasted like hope. I stuck to sparkling water because my brain likes on-off switches. Jenna walked in wearing a black dress that meant business. Confident posture, smile that said, "I see you and also I see through nonsense." She slipped her hand through my arm as we walked in, casual but clear. About an hour into mingling, while I was talking to a guy who made cable trays for fun, I felt eyes on me. I turned and saw Sierra across the room in a red dress that was trying too hard to be a moment. She was there as a vendor friend's +1. Industry's a small town in a tux. She looked shocked, like she expected me to be in a cave somewhere building a device to win her back using resistance wire and spite. Sierra walked up. "Nate, I didn't know you'd be here." Her voice came out too loud, slicing through the room until heads turned. I kept my face neutral. "Hi, Sierra. Good evening." Jenna glanced at me, eyebrows barely raised. I gave the smallest shake of my head. She understood immediately. Sierra's gaze flicked to her, quick and assessing. "Oh, hi." "Hi," Jenna said evenly. "I'm Jenna." Sierra paused, performing thought. "I'm an old friend." Jenna smiled. Polite, calm, not an inch of insecurity. "I'm Nate's girlfriend. And his boss." Sierra's face tried to calculate it, muscles lagging behind her brain. "Girlfriend and boss? That's fast." "About as fast as you dumping me because my main contractor paused jobs for a few weeks," I said. Her color shifted. That's not fair. I was going through things. You posted that you outgrew me 2 days after a slowdown and called it personal growth, I said. Words mean things. Jenna gave my arm a gentle squeeze and said smoothly, "Excuse us, we have some investors to meet." We walked away. Sierra stayed frozen like her app crashed mid-scroll. Jenna leaned close and asked quietly, "Was that her?" "Yeah," I said. She smirked. "You dodged a lot." "Ranger tried to warn me," I said. Night went well after that. I shook hands, told a guy that his idea for running control wiring under an area that floods is how horror movies start, and got 3 new job leads because apparently people like a straight talker. We danced twice. Slow. Neat. Nothing dramatic. It felt like breathing in a room full of people pretending to float. At midnight, my phone started buzzing like it was allergic to silence. DMS Instagram. LinkedIn, again. Email. Text from an unknown number. The messages were a bingo card. "We need to talk." "That was awkward. Can we have an adult conversation?" "I miss you. I made a mistake." "Your boss?" "Seriously, people will think you slept your way into that job," I showed Jenna. We were back at her place, still in gala clothes, petting her dog Moose, a golden who sleeps like he's always clocking out. Jenna said, plain and cool, "Block everything. And if she contacts you at work, that's harassment. Document it." So I documented. I took screenshots with timestamps. I saved the unknown numbers. I made a folder titled Sierra. Monday morning, our office manager, Grace, pulled me aside. "Weird question. Did someone named Sierra try to contact you this weekend?" I said, "Yes, my ex." Grace said, "She called the office number Saturday morning saying it was a family emergency. I told her we don't give out employee info. She got aggressive." I said, "Thanks for the heads up." Grace said, "I marked it down." Then she handed me a sticky note. "Document everything." I already was. Tuesday, my old coworker Cal, guy who once split a burrito with me when I forgot my wallet, saint behavior, texted, "Dude, Sierra is telling people you're dating your boss, making it a whole scandal. She said you got fired for misconduct and now you manipulated some older woman to hire you. Heads up." I called him. "That's a lie. And Jenna is 3 years older, not 20. Cal said, "I told her she was being wild. She's on a campaign." I thanked him and added that screenshot to the folder. Wednesday, it escalated. An email to HR from concerned colleague landed in Jenna's inbox and mine. Subject, ethical concerns. The body read like it was written by someone who just discovered corporate buzzwords. "I have concerns about the relationship between employee Nathaniel White and CEO Jenna Hart. This is a clear conflict of interest and appears to involve favoritism and possibly began before his employment. He was hired under suspicious circumstances after being terminated at his previous job." It asked for an investigation. Timelines were wrong. Assumptions were loud. The font was smug. I forwarded to Kara and also to HR like a good citizen. HR called me on Thursday morning. "We received a complaint. Can you walk us through your relationship?" I did, flat and simple. "I was hired before we started dating. We keep work clean. She's not on my direct line of approvals. I have documentation of the harassment since Friday. Presented screenshots like a boring detective." HR nodded. "We'll document. If she continues, we'll pursue legal action. You're fine." That afternoon, Jenna received a cease and desist from some budget lawyer representing Sierra. The letter claimed intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. I guess me moving on stole the economy? And defamation. We hadn't said anything public. Kara read it and laughed in lawyer. "This is not a thing," she said. We sent a response that was basically, "Here's the actual timeline. Here's the evidence that the complainant is an ex looking for chaos. Stop contacting our employee and our office, or we'll file for harassment. Certified mail, file copies, everything neat. For 3 days, silence." Then Friday night, I made dinner at Jenna's, stir-fry because I can wield a knife and a wok, and my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered because I like knowing who's trying to sell me a warranty. "Nate." It was Sierra, voice shaky. "You ruined my life. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Brandon broke up with me." I blinked. "Who's Brandon?" "My boyfriend," she said, like I was supposed to have a scrapbook. "He said I'm obsessed with you," she continued. "You paraded that woman around to make me look stupid." I kept my voice even. "Sierra, you dumped me because you decided you outgrew me when I hit a slowdown. I didn't parade anyone. I went to a work event with my girlfriend. She said, she's using you. She wants a younger guy." I said, "Goodbye, Sierra." Hung up, blocked the number, documented the call duration, put my phone down and finished chopping onions. Moose wagged. Jenna set plates like nothing was happening because we agreed we don't feed fires. A week later, Sierra made a burner Instagram. She posted a long rant about narcissistic men who use successful women as status symbols and tagged Summit's account. She didn't name names, but come on. Our social media manager flagged it. Legal sent another letter, this time with restraining order language. The burner went private. Then it went silent. I don't do speeches, I do checklists. After the breakup and before the gala, I changed the house lock code on Friday and swapped the deadbolt on Saturday. I removed Sierra from every shared login, streaming, utilities, even my grocery app, because you'd be amazed what accidental orders can do. I pulled our prenup draft, wrote VOID in the corner, and refiled it under Sierra Archive. During the Sunday pickup, I quietly took back my spare garage fob from her keyring. She didn't notice, but Drew did, and gave me an eyebrow high five. I sent formal emails canceling the venue holds and vendor deposits, time-stamped everything, asked for refunds where possible, and ate the remaining $850. I called my bank to confirm I'm the only authorized user on every account, personal and business, then logged the call. I backed up my phone to the cloud and to a hard drive that lives in my safe, because yes, I am that guy. I emailed my insurance agent to block any policy changes without my written request. He replied, "You're my favorite kind of paranoid." The only face-to-face after the breakup was that Sunday. Sierra tried the "you're being cold" routine when she saw the box. How could you do this to me? You wanted out. You got it. You're overreacting. This is me reacting one time. We can still be friends. We're not. Please leave. Drew stood by like a human dash cam, arms crossed. My phone recorded from a shelf mount. Legal where I live. She left with the box. That was the whole scene. In the first week, Sierra's mom texted mine. "Maybe we just need time apart." My mom replied with a single smile emoji, baked brownies, and divided them between me and Ranger in appropriate portions. Kaylee sent me a paragraph about how Sierra deserves better. I didn't respond. I blocked her. She posted a story about men being threatened by women who shine. Shine is fine, rent is better. Sierra posted and deleted 3 Instagram stories in 24 hours. 2 of them quotes over sunsets. Social media isn't a courtroom. It's a loud room where no one listens. I stayed silent. Public silence works when private documentation is your side quest. Weeks 2 through 8, Cal mentioned Sierra's lease was ending, and her roommate, Megan, didn't want to renew. Rumor had it the apartment became a war room, with photo collages like a reality TV set. Can't confirm, but Megan later DM'd me an apology for Sierra trying to get my new number. I screenshotted it, naturally. Brandon, the rebound, bailed. Looked like he bought protein powder with his personality, but that's not my business. Sierra tried a reconciliation script. We just needed space. I realized what we had. I ignored it. No contact is tough at first and easy later, like carrying a ladder. Awkward, until muscle memory kicks in. Months 2 through 6, the pattern repeated. Fake account tags and a concerned colleague email. Legal handled both. Same playbook, same outcome. I focused on work. Margins were tight, materials slippery, and I loved it. I led 3 builds for Summit. A pediatric clinic with whisper quiet lighting, a coffee roastery that smelled like ambition, and a tech office that insisted on RGB backlights like a gamer cave. We nailed the punch lists. Clients sent thank you emails with words like professional and clear communicator. I printed them and pinned them to the corkboard, because sometimes your brain needs receipts. Jenna and I fit. She didn't need fixing. She needed someone who showed up and built things that stayed built. We kept work and personal clean enough that HR didn't flinch. She recused herself from my review and pay decisions. An outside PM handled it. I got the raise anyway because math doesn't gossip. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I just like filing cabinets. After the burner post, Sierra went quiet for 3 weeks. I used the time for some asset protection because Uncle Ron's voice in my head never lets me skip a precaution. I moved money to a high-yield savings account only I could touch, opened a new P.O. box for business mail, updated my will, Drew gets Ranger, Dad gets the tools, and installed a driveway camera. Not paranoia, just documentation. Then came the driveway scene. About a month after the gala, 7:42 p.m., I pulled up from a service call. Ring pinged. Sierra on my porch, holding a folder. Ranger barked once. More notification than threat. I parked on the street, called Drew, and said, "Stay on the line." He said, "Pocket me. I'll be the angel on your hip." I stopped 8 feet away. "You need to leave." She said, "We need to talk." I said, "No. Put that down and step away. You owe me a conversation." "I owe you nothing." You ended it. She tried to hand me the folder. I didn't take it. I told her, say whatever you need to through a lawyer. She went through the breakup script. You moved on too fast. People think you used her. I said, everyone who matters knows the timeline. When she stepped toward the porch, I blocked her. Don't step up here. This is your only warning. My tone stayed calm. Ring was recording. Drew muttered, document, document, like a hype man for boundaries. She finally left the folder on the porch and stomped off. Inside were printed screenshots of my gala photos with, how could you, scrawled across them. I put it in a labeled bag, because of course I did. The next day I filed for a restraining order. Not out of fear, but because escalation had started. I built a clean timeline. Breakup text, harassing DMs, HR complaint, burner post, and the porch visit. The judge looked through it for 6 minutes and said, temporary order granted. It barred her from contacting me, my family, my work, or tagging my business online. Served officially, documented neatly. It's a statewide order. When she relocated later, my lawyer had it confirmed as enforceable there under full faith and credit, so the terms followed her. She violated it once, technically. A text from a new number. Hope we can talk when you calm down. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who forwarded it to the clerk. The sheriff made a warning call. That ended it. Boundaries don't punish. They teach. Meanwhile, Summit promoted me to lead electrical project manager after an independent review. No favoritism, no whispers. My margins were tight, inspections passed on the first visit, and my crew trusted me because I don't leave them hanging. I show up with wire nuts in every size. My parents met Jenna. Mom baked. Dad asked her favorite screwdriver brand. Klein, she said. Dad nodded. Smart. Ranger adored her. Moose and Ranger ran laps until the grass threatened to unionize. Sierra went quiet. Cal said she'd moved across town. Smaller place. Cats. Questionable choices. Kaylee kept posting energy quotes. I went back to work, ate meals I cooked myself, threw the ball for Ranger, and slept like someone who wired the circuit correctly. 6 months later, Summit grew. We added 2 crews. I hired Hector, a young apprentice who reminded me of me 10 years ago, except taller and fluent in TikTok. He listens, takes notes, and works like he means it. I gave him a custom tool bag for his birthday. He looked like I'd given him a car. North Rim Electric kept steady business, plus a contract maintaining retail emergency lighting. Easy checks, clean invoices. Between salary and side work, I cleared about $160,000. Celebrated by buying a better label maker. At home, I installed motion sensor nightlights, small joys, redid baseboards, repainted the den, and fixed 2 upside-down outlets installed by someone who defied gravity. Ranger has a new dog door with a lock sturdy enough for a bear. He even fetches my gloves. OSHA compliant, of course. Jenna and I keep it professional at work. Outside, we walk the dogs, laugh about doorbell cameras, talk about everything and nothing. She's steady, not trying to fix me, not needing to be fixed. Sierra update. Megan messaged that Sierra moved to another city with a new job. She tried spinning the restraining order as bullying. People didn't buy it. Evidence ruins fiction. Brandon, the gym guy, moved on to a nutrition coach with no dog hair on her clothes. Kaylee now sells supplements that overpromise. Sierra's burner accounts went silent. The best revenge isn't revenge. It's liking your Tuesday morning. Lessons I actually believe. Financial independence is freedom. Sleep that isn't borrowed. Document everything. Not to fight, but to remember clearly. Trust your gut. Believe people when they show you who they are. Loyalty beats fireworks. Drew's bad jokes beat any motivational speech. Build things. Stability isn't boring. It's wiring done right. Where am I now? Exactly where I should be. A solid job, a growing business, a house that smells like coffee and solder, a dog who thinks I'm the CEO of Fetch, a girlfriend who stays, and a best friend who keeps me laughing. That old caption said, sometimes you outgrow people. She wasn't wrong. She just misread who was growing. She wanted out. I kept building. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.